this computer. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. We're so excited. Oh my God, we are so excited. This is our third season of Academy for Program Coordinators. We have been working so hard on getting you new programming for this year. We are still working on other tools and other efforts. Like, thank you, Kimberly Warfield, for suggesting the APC Spotlight. If you haven't noticed, we have been posting. We are spotlighting one coordinator per day in our Facebook group. I'm going to transfer it also. I'm going to do it also. I have opened a LinkedIn group, so I'm still working on that. I was mentioning earlier to some people, I was out. I just returned yesterday. We are spotlighting one person per day. So if you don't have Facebook, you don't have access to the Facebook group, let us know. I am about to send some emails to the ones we have spotlighted from Monday through today, and through the weekend I'm going to send you some emails just saying congratulations and sending you what people have nominated, why they have nominated so far. But just in case, our past spotlights include Ashley McDonald, Karen Washington, Karen McIntosh, Rachel Rotten, Colbert, Rika Nagaskin, Trenda Crump, Becky Rivera, Pam Larson, Gary Hodge, and today was Martha English. So congratulations, because we deserve, honestly, to be recognized more than just one day in a year, doing this for a whole month. We have received messages that this has lifted up so many spirits to so many people because of what we're doing. So thank you so much. We will continue our efforts to bring you the best possible journey and accompanying you through this amazing journey called GME, because this is our little big community. So another thing is, I've been posting I changed the links to the attendance form, the evaluation form. So I'm posting right now again the attendance form in the chat. We had some issues with our old Academy email address. Google thought it was spam, and they logged me out, and I lost everything. So we have a new email address. We're trying to reconvene. We fall and we stand up again, and we continue moving forward. Today we have a great speaker, Laura Robinson. Laura, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen in a minute so you can start sharing yours. So here's the background to where this all came. The Facebook group name is Texas College of Osteopathic Medicine's Academy for Program Coordinators. It's still the same thing. We have the backing now of our school, of our university. So that's why the name changed a little bit. So here's the background to why the presentation today. Laura presented this presentation during ACGME in February, and it got so much great feedback, including a couple of my colleagues and friends. And when we did the needs assessment, we knew we wanted her to come in, and she even reached out to us, and we were so happy. We are so happy, so blessed, so honored to have her present. I think it's going to be a variation of that same presentation that she did at ICGME called Don't Automate, Replicate. And I really am excited for this. We are recording the session. We're going to post it later on. I'm going to keep posting the schedule for the next sessions throughout the year. Please note that for September, unfortunately, we cannot record that presentation because of the topic. We have somebody's going to present question, refer, and persuade presentation, question, persuade and refer Because of the nature of the presentation, we cannot record it. So if you, this is going to be one of those one-offs, once in a lifetime presentations. So if you have people that are interested in that topic, please let them know that one unfortunately is not going to be recorded. So without further ado, Laura, are you around here? Because I saw your name.
Yeah, you know I'm here.
All right, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, thank you. For those of you who don't know, I am a big proponent of making my life easier and making our lives easier and working smarter, not harder. So my name is Laura Robinson. My pronouns are she, her, and I absolutely love this role. I am currently, this is actually my next to last day. Tomorrow is my last day as the program coordinator for gastroenterology and transplant hepatology at SSM Health St. Louis University School of Medicine. Beginning on Monday, I will actually become the senior fellowship residency program coordinator in the GME office at WashU. If you haven't had a chance to virtually attend or in person attend an ACGME conference, I highly, highly recommend it, because the person who will become my boss on Monday, I actually met at ACGME and they saw my presentation and were quite thrilled. And I will continue to share all of the resources that I make for free. So before I even kick off my presentation, I want you guys to know I have templates, I have examples. You will get them after the session. I have almost everything that I talk about. I have where you will be able to duplicate it and take it home for yourself, because I have a master's in higher ed, and the number one thing that we always joked about in every single class was nothing is new under the sun. We're not recreating the wheel. Higher ed steals from higher ed. So graduate med ed, we're going to steal from graduate med ed, because that's what we do, because nothing's brand new. So without further ado, I'm going to find my PowerPoint. Also, FYI, I am a bit snarky. I do a lot of things with humor because that's what makes me comfortable. And I do go based off of feedback. So when you guys, if I completely lose you, just drop something in the chat. I am happy to kind of go with that. Where did I go? Bad screen. Downside of having two monitors, sometimes it's like, hey, wait, what? Where are we going? What are we doing? Okay, let's try this again. Okay, this work. Ooh.
We're seeing your presenter mode.
Yeah, I know. I hate this. I had this set up so it wouldn't do this kind of junk to me, and it wants to do it. There we go. Now you should see the regular screen. Fantastic. Cool beans. All right. So, session name. Don't replicate, automate. I really like words. I'm a collector of them, so I like it when they rhyme. I have no conflict of interest, so we should be good there. Yay. Quick objectives, just so y'all can kind of get a feel for where we're going. You guys should be able to identify at least one opportunity at your institution by the end of the session. You will also be able to assess whether something should or should not be automated, because there are things that should not be. So these are important to know, just as it's just as important to know what should be. And then I'm truly hoping that you will have increased confidence in your ability to begin a process improvement. Doesn't necessarily have to be automation from the start, but just process improvement in general. Again, anything that makes our lives easier, let's do this. Some quick definitions. So when I use the word automate, my brain automatically says like the set it and forget it tasks, kind of like that old infomercial with the rotisserie chicken thing. So set it and forget it tasks. I want a chain reaction to create and, just do the thing. I don't want to have to do much. Turnaround time is the amount of time it takes to complete a task from request to delivery. So you're going to talk about reports, data entry, file management, anything that is kind of a routine task, but that you have to give back a finished product. That's going to have a turnaround time. Extensions are usually considered like add-ons to an existing product, whereas an application is a standalone item. A lot of times it can be integrated with other products, but not necessarily. So I promise this isn't as technical as it sounds. I try to cover all the bases. So when it comes to process automation, the very first thing is you have to know what the heck is going on. If you don't know, then ask. This is the number one thing. So you need to know how something is already functioning and why it's functioning that way. If it's, we've done it this way the entirety, okay, that's not cool. Let's try and evolve here a little. Change is difficult for all of us, but especially when it comes to making our work lives easier, let's try and get some buy-in for that. So for me, process is scaffolding. So you have to start where you are and build up. It's easier if you can group like concepts together. So if you know for absence request is my number one go-to, right? So trainees want to be out, they want to have PTO, vacation, whatever it is. If your program doesn't already assign that and they actually get to request it, that is very similar to I want to go to a conference or I want to get reimbursed for this. So those are kind of in the same vein. They need to give you information and they need an approval. So you can kind of do these together. If you can figure out how to do one of them, you can evolve it to do for other things. So build on what you already have. So again, we're not recreating the wheel here. If you have a paper form, cool, now make it a digital form. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can literally just be a Word document version of the paper form that you use for absence request. You already have a digital form? Great. How about making it now into a fillable PDF? If your institution will not give you Adobe Pro, you can do it in Word. There's a way to make a form in Word. These are all sorts of options to just kind of get you there incrementally. And then from a digital form, if you've already got it, it already fills out, does all the things. Okay, now put it in an automation system. Put it to where when someone submits that form, it automatically gets sent to whoever needs to say yes or no. And there you have it. That's your process scaffolding. So start where you are, build up, and then go. For me, I had to determine my pain point. So my pain point was the absence request forms, because when I started here in October of 2020, they were still doing paper absence request forms. And it was one of those, who has it? Where is it? Oh my gosh. And it was a nightmare. So that was my absolute pain point. That was my number one starting place. So try to find the least favorite thing that you do, and see if there's a way that you can change it up, if there's a better way to do it. Start there, because that's going to give you that really good like endorphin high of, oh, it works, this is going to be fun. So the caveat to that is if it impacts others. So I had to do a lot of my own, okay, let me test it, let me see how this works, yada, 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 before I ever let my trainees test it. Because of course, I'm not going to ask them to test something over and over and over again. I wanted to make sure that I kind of knew what I was talking about, so they wouldn't have to test it too much. That way they wouldn't get frustrated by it, and then they'd be excited, which they were. So I got their feedback, which was, hey, we don't really care about this, so we don't really need to know this when somebody's requesting off. Hey, can you add this? And that was really critical, because it's not just my information that I needed for the program. It was also what they needed from each other. So that was really nice. But also, I didn't stop there. You always have to reassess and address updates as needed. So we just moved from being a university-based program to being a medical center, academic medical center. We now are under SSM. So we had to move the entirety of the history of our program and everything that we did from SLU servers to SSM servers, which meant all of the processes that I had, all of the automations, all the forms, all the everything, I had to bring over to SSM. So I had to learn how to do it again. And it was like, this is a great time. Are there any changes we want to make? Let's make them now. Same thing at the beginning of an academic year. If I want to change any of my forms, I'm going to change it before the beginning of the academic year. Let's go. Okay, so some starting points. These are some of the areas that kind of will help you get in the mode of thinking about automating things. My number one suggestion to every single person, no matter what system you use, MedHub, My Evaluations, New Innovations, doesn't matter. Turn on your notifications, okay? There are reminders for expiration dates, for due dates, APEs, PLAs, Alphabet Soup City, anything that has an expiration date. I do it for my visas too, for my trainees who are on J1s or green cards or anything like that. I have those systems set up so that they will notify the trainee, me, and the PD at a specific interval to tell them this needs to be renewed. This is expiring in so many days. That way they cannot say, I didn't know, because you're an adult. So am I. Let's act like adults. You know your stuff is going to expire, so let's just go ahead and take care of it. So I turned on all of my notifications. I also get the ones when they don't do their duty hours. After 14 days. After 14 days, I text them. And if you don't want to text them, call them. And if I don't get it done, the next kick up is I pull you from rotation. And if that doesn't work, the PD's coming after you. So I'm the like nice bad guy, and the PD gets to be the bad guy, because we shouldn't have to remind you. We understand you get busy, but that's the notifications help me because I don't have to think about it, because it'll tell me when those things are due, and it's telling me, hey, this person hasn't done it. I don't have to check it every week to see if they have. Now I do check it to make sure they've done it correctly, because that's a different subject. We all have to keep records of trainees, but there's certain things that we have to do over and over again, right? So like we have to in GI give attestations for society saying, yes, they are a trainee. Here's when they start, here's where they end, here's what they make. Jury duty letters and reappointment documents. So these are always kind of the same thing. So I have templates for them. They all look the same. And then I just plug in the information that I need. When I get a physical document for a fellow, I immediately scan it and I put that in their digital file. And then if I need to keep the physical paper that got sent to me, I put it in their physical file. For the most part, I really prefer to live with the digital files, but I have a little bit of, the conspiracy theory of, oh, what happens if the system crashes? I would like you to still be able to say, yes, this person does have a medical license. Here it is. And have it on hand to be able to reference quickly. I also keep a universal spreadsheet that has the frequently referenced things, my trainees, NPI, ECFMG date, all of those types of things. I track their expenses in it so that I can, because I have to keep track of when they've spent their CME money. I'm kind of like, okay, can we get an accountant to do that? No? Okay, cool. Also the mid-fee reporting, which is the Medicare report of where they were each month. I have all of these things in one specific Excel spreadsheet that is easy reference for me, so that when somebody's like, hey, why did you put this in for this report? I have the entirety of the mid-fee report there. And I'm like, nope, that's not what I put. Somebody probably oopsed in my box. So let's put it back to where it was. I have a template for that. You will get that at the end. And the biggest thing that when people started to notice that I was spending more time doing things that they didn't think were program things that look very technical to them, I started giving them my turnaround time changes. So my turnaround time changes, my verifications went from 36 hours to 1 hour. My monthly schedule, which we have our rotation schedule, our block rotation schedule, but we have a few rotations that actually have different sites and different responsibilities within those sites. So we have to make a monthly schedule and then, go from there. Went from 4 days to 3 hours because I created a template in, new innovations for the assignment scheduler that says if they are on this rotation, these are the days. Plug it in and then just edit as needed. Same with the mid-fee report. It used to take forever to calculate who was at the VA for what reason and why. I just made a simple formula in Excel and put that together. That I will not be sharing simply because it's specific to our training program and how our training program works. So it doesn't really help anybody, but the concept of a calculation is what made that so much easier for me. So as I said, print, if you're going to do something, if you get a digital item, print it as a PDF, save it as a PDF, put it in the file. Routinely needed information, that's that tracking spreadsheet that I have. Biggest gift anyone ever gave me was one of the coordinators here at our institution showed me OneNote. I had seen I'd seen some of the online version of OneNote and it wasn't as user friendly as I would like, but the desktop version was much better. I also have my template of my OneNote that I will be giving y'all at the end. There are workarounds for everything. So if you don't have access to DocuSign, PandaDoc is an easier free version that you should be able to use to collect digital signatures for things. And then starting point of file naming. I don't know if anybody else has this issue, but I used to work in college admissions, okay? You have no idea how many files you get until you get the same name that you're like, there's no way anybody else has this name. Somebody else had this name 2 years later and you're like, oh, which one is it? So find your file naming convention and stick with it. So my example for that is file naming convention. It's last name, year, description, and expiration. So, Robinson 2022 Missouri medical license. Prather 2021 ACLS expires 6/2022. Find whatever naming convention. If your institution has an official one, fantastic. I found most institutions are like, oh, what works for you? Which is nice, but at the same time, kind of not. So I did that, and then it gets longer. I will do last name, first name, because we do have some folks who were siblings who came through our program. And it was like, okay, I mean, that's great, but okay, wrong file. Let's fix this. And then everything in 5 folders. So my trainees' digital files have only 5 folders in them. So if you click on their file, this is all you're going to see, and you're going to be like, that's not enough to house everything. But really it kind of is, because these words are overarching concepts. So anything related to verifications, credentialing, letters of rec, or letters that we made for jury duty, letters that we did for anything, those all go in the same thing, because they're kind of like, they're not like, they're licenses. So their licenses, their contracts, their appointment paperwork, reappointment, initial application, all of that is in licenses and contracts. Your evaluations and GTE. So GTE is ITE, the in-service training exam, if your institution program does one. You have all of these things available and nested in there. And then, so like, for example, for naming conventions, semi-annuals and milestones, obviously those happen twice a year. So I have found that I do mid-year, end of year. So it's MY and EOY, so that it's mid-year versus end of year, and then which year it is, so that you can easily find the thing that you're looking for. And yeah, so those are some things. The OneNote over there, that one specifically on the screen is the one that I started for our institution program coordinators to kind of look at. It's not the one that you'll get as an example, but the one that I will send as an example is also very, very full of those types of things. And then down there at the bottom is new innovations. That's a screenshot of administration to show you where the email notifications are and all the things you can get notifications about. So, okay, before I go any further, does anybody have massive confusing questions about where we've started? Or are we kind of good for right now?
I haven't seen any questions on the chat. The only question that somebody asked was about if they could see some of your plain templates.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
And
have
somebody
those.
just consider adding correspondence, rotations, publications.
So yeah, you could add that. That's a great point. For me, publications go under semi-annuals because they have to turn in all their publications and information at their semi-annual evaluations. So it's under that. And that's, again, that's specific to my program and how our program works. But that is a fantastic additional idea. I may steal that, Marianne. Fantastic. All right, so for those of you who are like, okay, that was basic, I kind of already knew those things. Here's your mid-range options, right? So collect a digital version. Again, you can do forms, but I also do things like I made the review. It's our semi-annual review that is, it pulls all the data in New Innovations. It is in New Innovations under review. So it creates the actual review of it, pulls all their and everything instead of my going, can you get me this information? It's already there. So I started there, but then I also make my PD actually when he meets with the trainees for their semi-annual. I have a form that he has to fill out. It's a digital form, so that we can have a history of what was discussed, what all went down. And again, once he submits the form, it auto prints to a PDF and I just put it in the trainees file. That way we have the record of, these are the things you said you were going to do in 6 months. Did you actually do them or not? And kind of going from there. One thing that I found was a lot of folks didn't know that Zoom and Teams both have attendance and recording settings that you can like auto route. So for us, Zoom, when we were using it, Zoom, I would have it auto route to a cloud location and save there so that all of our didactic lectures were saved, because our program requirements mandate that anyone who misses a didactic lecture be able to make up that information. Well, I'm not going and chasing down every single PowerPoint that happened or any of that stuff. So we just record the lecture. If you want to watch it, it's on you to make it up, but I have to make sure that you have access to it. So the recordings came about, and have a whole folder of recordings broken down by academic year, has the date, has all the information. And then for Teams, it'll collect the information about who's in the meeting, but a lot of times if they are using their personal email because they're choosing not to use their institutional email, if they don't put in their actual full name, or it's not a unique enough name that you know who they are, sometimes that can be problematic. But again, that's not my problem. A lot of it, I had to learn to give up a lot of the responsibility, because I'm like, you want the credit for being at this conference. You need to make sure I know that you're there. So if you and a buddy are sharing an account because you're both in endoscopy, then you both need to lean into the mic and say, hey, this is Lath and EI. That way we know you're both there. Because if you don't do that, it's like, I can't be everywhere. I can't do everything. And I need them to take some ownership, because I'm in fellowship. So I'm like, you guys are like getting ready to graduate and become like real adults out in the real world. Nobody is going to handhold you as an attending. Like, that is not really going to happen. And if you do, I'm very impressed. That must be a very nice private practice or a very nice hospital that helps handhold you. I'm also a mid-range believer of making your presentation your agenda. So I have my CCC and PEC. I have the template that we use every time for our PowerPoint presentation as we go through. I turn that into our minutes. I don't take additional minutes. I literally print the presentation. I sit in the meeting with them and help run it. I make notes on, ooh, hey, look at that. I actually have an example. So I literally print it out and write notes of anything that we discussed that needs to be added. I type that up into the minutes, done. I'm not recreating the wheel, typing all that information over again because I did the legwork to pull it together in the first place. And then some of the advanced functions in certain programs, so like New Innovations, the review that I was talking about, journals, scholarly activity. If you have found the carrot or the stick that makes your faculty or your fellows fill out the freaking scholarly activity, please let me know what it is, because mine don't. So the number one thing that I've had to do to get my trainee scholarly activity, again, we built that into their semi-annual evaluation. So that one I got covered. The faculty, on the other hand, who don't publish their CVs, don't really like to do that. I actually just pull their institutional annual evaluation because they have to do, they get evaluated just like we do as an employee. They have an annual evaluation where they have to list all of their clinical research and teaching. So the research and teaching, that's where they're going to put all their publications. So I have my institution give that to me. My department will give it to me. They don't give me any of the other data because I don't care about their annual review. I'm just like, I need this because I have to turn it in for WebEx, right? But yeah, if anybody can figure it out, maybe we all need to have the same carrot stick conversation. Not entirely sure. Another mid-range example that a lot of folks may or may not use are the QR codes. So I not only use the QR codes for auto-populating attendance through New Innovations. I don't think MedHub has it. If they do, hallelujah. If not, I've also used QR codes just to link to a website, not just to actually, they don't actually come in the system sometimes. So my patient and nurse evaluations for my fellows 360s, they wouldn't let me have like an iPad or anything on site in the clinic. So I just created a Microsoft form based off of the information that I would need and put it on a QR code on a happy little flyer that I was looking around my office to see if I have, but I've already packed up a lot of my office. So that the nurses on their lunch break.
Great. Let me turn this down. I'm watching a webinar. Hey, I left a message because I had a
Please mute.
Oops.
It's all good. Hey, man, we all do it. So I do that. My Outlook calendar, you have options of other things to add. Whether it's a Zoom or a Teams meeting, you can also send tasks from your email to OneNote. I know Gmail has the same kind of feature where you can send it to something. So I send it to my to-do list. I send it to OneNote. I send things everywhere so that I remember to do them, because I used to use my email as a kind of that running to-do list and pin stuff at the top until it got to the point where my pinned list was so long I couldn't see my new emails. And I was like, this is not working now. So I found the other little add-ons. So those are add-on options that you can do it. And then the same kind of thing with a CCC prep. CCC prep. Number one thing that was hard for me to do was get the buy-in from my faculty until they realized that it would make the meeting go so much faster. So our CCC meetings, we have 12 trainees, used to be 4 hours. Once every 6 months, because they would take forever to talk about people. So I was like, okay, we're done. I don't have time for this. Y'all don't have time for this. Your patients don't have time for this. This is ridiculous. So I did essentially kind of like a flipped classroom situation where your milestones can be turned into an evaluation in New Innovations. I really hope MedHub has that as an option as well. If not, I'm sure you could finagle it to where you could make an evaluation in MedHub, to make the milestone evaluations. My faculty are required to complete the milestone evaluations on the trainees prior to the meeting. They are not given previous milestones. They are not given anything to bias their information. It's literally, this is the trainee, here are the milestones. There's only so many of them. Click where you think they belong. We also give them the, hey, first years are not going to be in the 4 range for milestones. Okay, like this is not a thing. And not everybody gets a gold star here. And that's fine because they're still learning. So I do that because then I pull all of the evaluations that have been done in the last 6 months. And I pull our in-service tests, their procedure logs, all of that kind of data that is in New Innovations. I just pull it out and put it into a pretty PowerPoint. And then I take the average of all of my faculty. There are only like 5 of them on our CCC. They all have to do the milestone evaluations in New Innovations, and then I just pull the average. So averaged, the 5 of you thought this person was in this milestone range, and I show that to them. And then we go through all the comments because it makes it easier and faster that they can read other people's comments that they put in, and they're like, oh yeah, and then we have more time to actually discuss how to help those trainees, because we all know the trainee, we know where they are. It's not like you're grading somebody in a different division, right? So they just needed to get it focused on where they were, because a lot of times they would get sidetracked telling stories about this, that, or the other. And then it's like, no, hello. So our CCC and our PEC are done together. It is a 2-hour meeting in the fall and a 3-hour meeting in the spring, because we have to spend more time in the spring making sure that we have everything ready for the APE. And that's the PowerPoint printing that we do. Okay, advanced techniques. I call them advanced. They aren't for everybody, but just kind of depends. I use mail merge to fill in my newsletters, my appeal letters, thank you notes, invitations. I have a base template for a thank you letter for those who come do grand round speeches for us, or guest lecturers. We have a couple of CME guest lecture events that we do throughout the year. I just have a template that literally I can just mail merge in the new person's name, the topic, the date, and done, and hit print. It's really great for newsletters and appeal letters, because our alumni development office is wonderful at our institution, but because we are now in a separate organization, when you're talking about money and finances, we're not entirely sure how that's going to work. So the mail merge that I have, we have a running list of all of our alumni's name, address, and then an email address. Mail merge it together, print, done. Stuff in a letter, mail out. So what used to take 2 weeks now takes like a day and a half, really. And then Power Automate is the official flow process in Microsoft that I use. And that's how all of these things that my automations happen. So like when a form is filled out, it'll create an approval process that gets emailed directly to the person who needs to approve or decline the request. And then everybody gets the response who needs to get the response. I can also have a task created based on a form response. So if I have a form that's, hey, what's a suggestion for a didactic lecture? It'll literally create a task on my to-do list of, hey, someone has requested this. Let's figure out how to do it. My personal favorite was the RSVP, because I don't know about y'all, but I do not like managing RSVP stuff, and Evite is great sometimes, but again, not always. So what I was finding was I would make a form and then it would auto create a calendar invite with all the RSVP details of here's how many people you said are coming, here's the address of where you're going, here's when the event starts. And it would auto create a calendar invite so that they could know, hey, you registered for this, please remember to come and do it. So yeah, that's kind of where those are at. For me, the hardest part was to automate it or not. If it's requests, forms, templates, formatting, like things that you do repeatedly, whether it's repeatedly in a month or in a monthly span, or if it's like, this is cyclical, you're going to do it twice a year. Find a way to make it easier on you, faster on you. But if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work. If it doesn't work for your trainees or your faculty, whoever is also having to use this thing, if it doesn't work for them, it doesn't work. So that's my biggest thing, is do not waste your time trying to make a simpler system work for you, because if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work. So find a way that does work, or, find a buddy at your institution who's like, hey, I'm kind of tech savvy. Let me figure out how to do this for you. Because that's what I've done. Lots of people are like, hey, you do this thing. How do I do the thing? So I'm like, hey, let's do the thing. We get together, we sit down, we try and do the thing together. I do not believe in wasting time as much as humanly possible. I do enjoy, laying back in a hammock, wasting time. But at work, I believe in doing a lot of effort on the front end to reap the benefits on the back end forever and a day, right? So things that shouldn't be automated are one-offs, unique things that happen. Anything that would violate PHI or PII, obviously, we're not doing that. If it's gonna cross institutions, or if it's gonna cross jobs. So like currently, if someone else is responsible for something, if they want a system made, I'm like, I will help you make it on your account. Because what I'm currently experiencing, what we're going to talk about on the next slide, is offboarding sharing. So part of the downside to all of this is, if you make forms, if you do these things, how do you turn them over? How does the continuity happen if you can't actually put them to use permanently? And so you have to think about those types of things. So it's easier to share within an institution because it's just adding access. Whereas if you are trying to share in between institutions, when I was trying to move my things from SLU to SSM, it borked and did not work because it kept trying to reroute through my SLU credentials instead of my SSM credentials. So it took a couple of hours for me to debug that. But once I did, I made my little notes about, here's how you debug this, so that the next person has a better idea. It's not impossible, but it can be a little tedious. And then you have to think also, is the person who's going to be receiving it going to be able to modify it? I just had to turn over our faculty PTO request because we make our faculty do the same thing that our fellows do. Not everybody gets to do that, I know, but we've had some coverage questions. So we make our faculty fill out the exact same type of form as our fellows. It's not the same form, but it's the same type of form. And I had to turn all of that over to my business manager. So she had to duplicate my form, she had to duplicate my automation flow, and we had to test it. And then she was like, okay, great, it's set up. Now what? We get a new faculty member, what do I do? I get a new admin who needs to be copied on this. Where do I change that? And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And so you have to think about what kind of assistance will be available. If you're still going to be there, like you're just transitioning to another role, like a couple of folks I know who are doing in your institution, fantastic. You'll still be available and still be a resource. I am leaving my institution. I will not be doing these things for free, but I'm happy to help where I can, but I'm like, okay, you might need to find another resource locally. Just kind of think those things through. These are just my personal favorite free resources. If you don't have, or if you don't know how to use Microsoft or Google Forms, or if you guys are doing something else completely, Jotform is great. QR Code Monkey for making your QR codes for unique things. I love me some Canva. I've made so much fun things on Canva that actually have kind of exploded at times on Twitter. So that's a lot of fun. I love PDF, and Cloud Convert are your best friends. Okay. These are free websites where you can convert between PDF Excel, Word, you name it. For those of you who use Macs, for those of us who use Microsoft, you can convert between the two. So you can convert a Pages document, which is Mac, into a Word document so that those of us on Microsoft can actually read it. That was the biggest gift ever, because so many of my users are Mac, and I'm like, I have an Android, this doesn't work. So yeah, those are my biggies. So real quick, I know you guys want to see some of my examples, so give me 2 seconds to get in there.
Laura, while you work on that, Jessica sent a question saying that she's mentoring a new coordinator and it's their first year of fellowship ever. How do you recommend they start since they don't have any? It's always been this way in place.
Welcome to the wild world. My number one thing that I tell new program coordinators is read your program requirements and know them. I underline or highlight, depending on the way your brain works, the shoulds and the musts. So shoulds are ideal. You really want to do them. Musts, that's a make or break. You have to do it. You have to do it. I don't care what anybody says. So I have had to be very diligent in making sure I understand those things. And then when I came into this role, I was like, okay, so what are some of the things that we have to do? So absence request. How does our program want to do that? If you've only got 1 or 2 fellows, maybe you don't need a whole automation process. Maybe you just need a better form. That's a digital form that can go back and forth between y'all. But really the biggest thing I have is I strongly recommend joining either if you have a program coordinator support group, you have a mentor, find somebody, they don't even have to be a program coordinator, just somebody who is at the institution, who knows the institution, because that's just as important as knowing your program. The Texas College of Osteopathic Medicine's Academy for Program Coordinators, the GME Facebook group, that's where I met Aria. That's where I found out about the APC. Those folks, I can't even, I've lost count. Every day somebody's asking for, hey, do you have a rotation evaluation form for this? Hey, do you have that? The files sections of those forums are amazing, amazing wealth of knowledge for all the different things. I've actually tossed a lot of my templates up into the GME Facebook group. My PEC and CC templates are in there already. So yeah, it is a lot. And I am very fortunate that my initial program director was like, yeah, I've been here this whole time, that it's always been done this way. So I'm retiring. Let's shake it up. And I was incredibly, incredibly thankful that I had her. But real quick, let me see if I can show you some of my templates. Seconds. Okay. So this is the template you will be getting. It is the coordinator guide template, as you can see. So it is not great. It's better than nothing, right? It's a good place to start. So think of it like a book. Here are all your chapters. Here are your sub chapters, right? So these are all the programs I have. I have an ACGME. So here's the web ad stuff, my program description that I pulled. I did leave in my personal stuff in a lot of these so that you can kind of see how it's designed, but obviously none of it is protected information. Also, kudos, I put in the FTE stuff as a screenshot because I was tired of people asking me about what my FTE was and me having to remind them. Your role and duties. So my role, this is, I believe that we are advocates and educators. My actual responsibilities, my pro tips, things like that. I have details of our learner scheduling. I have all of my websites with my usernames and passwords and what I use the site for. Not necessarily the safest thing. I'm not saying it's the best, but hey, I don't have enough memory up here anymore for all that. I have a calendar that has all the tasks that I do each month. processes and checklists. So how I do the things I do, my templates are all in here. So like the CCC PEC, the templates are down at the bottom. Jury duty letter, donation thank you letter, all that stuff. Minor finances, this is not our actual budget. I decided I wanted to dream big one day. So here's your dream big, here's what we spend budget, and then reports, so like mid-fee and scholarly activity. So I have that, but then I also, let me see, because I want to make sure I give you guys at least a few minutes for questions and things. I've done a lot of stuff. Holy cow. Like trying to find it all sometimes is a lot. Looking at everything, I'm like, oh my goodness, did I do all of the things? I
See,
did.
that's the advantage of having a database. And then you can just attach them to the database and have them available because you can scan them in under specific things. So
Yeah.
I like to work with Access databases, and basically all my templates are in there as well.
Yeah. So this is so this is my absence request form. It literally is their name, date, why they're absent, what their responsibilities were, where they were scheduled to be, if they were taking call. Like this is all of this stuff. And as you can tell, some of my fellows went in here and messed with it because it's got different words. This is the old one. Who's covering all of this is in here. And then I did Power Automate, which is around here somewhere. There it is. You will also get this flow. I did figure out how to export it. So you guys are kind of my guinea pig test group of interinstitutional, how does this work, for how to do that. So my flow, actually, it'll show us when I go in here. So here's my 28-day run history. And if anybody had used it in the last 28 days, but we've transitioned, it would be here. And it'll show you all the runs of what it did. Then it'll also show you the actual flow, which please don't panic. It's not as scary as you think. It looks scary, but it's not scary. Because there's a lot of Google, YouTube stuff out there for how to get these things. So basically it's just a giant flow chart. It's just a digital flow chart essentially, because it's when a response is submitted, you get the details, create an approval, create a file, do these things, wait for the person to approve it, and then email a notification. That's it. Within those, you have a lot of detail, but again, it's pretty chill how to go through it. And I have those as templates. You will be receiving them. They are all pretty straightforward for the most part. And I'm happy to share as much as I can across what I use. But one downside is that everything I have is Microsoft based and New Innovations based. So even if what I actually have doesn't necessarily exactly work for you, finding what works in your systems is the key. So that is my presentation, and I have 6 minutes left, which if anybody knows, if anybody who was in my ACGME session knows, I finished like a half hour early in my ACGME session because I misread the clock. So I'm very proud of myself. I only ended with 6 minutes this time.
You did wonderful. Somebody asked, how long have you been in the GME world?
October of 2020, so less than 3 years.
Wow. And somebody, but I have to read it. I'm sorry. What I will do to sit in an office with you, Laura.
I was going to say several of my co-coordinators are on this call. Sharon, Alicia, I'm sure Grace and Haley, I'm sure they're all in here, and I can guarantee you they are all like, yes, we love it. We will miss it. Because I'm trying to.
I'm over here about to cry.
But
Somebody
yes.
else, if you could put the OneNote with the tabs again.
Da-da-da-da. Let's see. If we're talking about the actual one that I use for myself, this one, then yes, hopefully that's the right one. And yes, I will be sharing the OneNote template. I will be sharing everything that I have my forms templates, I have my flow template, I have all of these things exported, and I'm trying to make sure that the file is small enough so that it'll actually email to all of you, or that I can find a workaround because my institution won't let me get to Dropbox here. So any other major questions?
No, don't worry about the email addresses because Laura, what we can do is you can send it to us and then we'll forward it to everybody in the listserv, and you can post it in the Facebook group if you want to.
Yep.
We have that ability. Any other questions for Laura before we jump off?
Well, just as a comment, if people are scared to look at different ways like OneNote and different programs, you can do a lot within Word itself, and put the developer on your on your thing, and set up your forms that you already have created in Word. Set them up on developer and make a template out of them. And like that, you don't have to, every time when you open up the template, you don't have to, you get a fresh form and send it. At least they get it in a format that they're familiar with. And a lot of my forms I have therefore in Word, and I automated them through the developer section where you can add checkboxes and the whole 9 yards and places to enter. And it makes it very, very simple. And the developer is really, really, really easy to use. So that might be helpful with forms that you use a lot. And I have them available in a shared drive that all the residents share. I have 27 residents. So yeah. But we do a lot of things in the same way. I just have them sitting in an Access database. I can't stand new innovations. Oh my God, I think it's the worst program in the world. So I created my own database that I run on the side.
And that's my thing is there is not one way to do this. There are so many ways. And when I kept saying, that's how my brain works, that's what it is. I had to find a way that worked for me, that worked for my brain. And so the colorfulness of OneNote, makes me so happy, because instead of thinking it's the ACGME tab, half the time I'm like, it's the purple tab, because that's how I see it. And so it's finding the way that works, but also finding the way that works for your institution. If you need to be able to easily share things, maybe an Access database, maybe that's the way to go. Just kind of depends on how you guys work. But yes, this was, I'm reading the comments and I'm giggling because we all have the same issues, and I absolutely love this group, because this group, I would say for the last year, every time I was in it, it's like, this is my monthly cathartic meeting where I get to hear from other people experiencing the same things. And then we get to come together and be like, so how do we do what we do? And you're not alone. You are not alone. You're not alone. And there's nothing wrong with us. We are just asked to do a lot and know a lot, and we are doing the best that we can. So thank you.
All right, Laura, thank you so much. I'm so happy that we got you in. Congratulations again on your new position. Laura is off to do many great things I know of, and she's taking the world by, So anyhow, I will send out the links to the recording, to the evaluation form later today, and we'll post them in the Facebook group. I will send out the link to the new group at LinkedIn. We're going to have those, the two groups running together. Everybody, congratulations on GME Appreciation Month, not just the day, the month. and we'll hope to see you next month in September. Thank you, everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to shout out to us, okay? All right, bye.
Hi.